पबजी 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 किधर गई यार? ये यार भाई अगर आपको यहाँ ही खा जाए। हाँ चलो जी। ये हिलता नहीं है, हिलता है। थोड़ा ऊपर लेके जाना है। चलो हो रही लाइव स्ट्रीम, हो तो रही है भाई। आ जाओ यार, जल्दी जल्दी आ जाओ। आपको भी देख रहा कमेंट शेंट भी कोई भी नहीं आया यार। 7 बजे का वैसे तुम लोगों को कहा भी था, बताने हो रही है। यार थोड़ा कम खराब हो रहा है। तो यार सारों को गाइस बोए गाइस ये देखते हैं, कोई गेम प्ले नहीं हो रहा, ये हो रहा है भाई। क्योंकि भाई सारे यही देख रहे तो आपके भाई ने कहा हम भी यही देख ले। हमें ये देखना है भाई। पाकिस्तान यूट्यूब पे चल रहा है यार। ओके यार ये देखनी कहाँ से है? अच्छा 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 अच्छा, लगी लगी लगी। चलो लगी लगी।
Both these teams have had to move. Mobile Gaming, they have not moved an inch. Set those feet down, planted them in, and they are. Both these teams have had to move. And Mobile Gaming, they have not moved an inch. Set those feet down, planted them in, and they are not leaving anytime.
और यार नेट भी बड़ा गंदा है, नेट बड़ा भोसड़ी वाला है यार। चलो यार चल पो यार। मुझे यार फेस कैम वीडियो बहुत तगड़ी हो रही है। आगे यार देखो यार कितना लैग मार रहा है, ये यूट्यूब से निकल जाएगा यार। फेस कैम मेरा पिटका यार, ये चल क्यों नहीं रहा? या यूट्यूब से मिल जाए। पबजी टूर्नामेंट को सर्च कर लेते हैं। यूट्यूब 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 आवाज नहीं सही आ रही में से। ये देखो सामने लगा हुआ कि नहीं? सामने लगा हुआ कि नहीं? सब्सक्राइब कर दो। सामने लगा कि नहीं? आर के वीडियो चार क्यों रही है? सब्सक्राइब कर दो। लिटिल रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा है। दो बंदे आए। कौन कौन आया? लगा कि नहीं? कमेंट करो यार जो भी है। तीन बंदे आ गए। लाइव मैं तो शायद मेरी पबजी से ये चल रहा है भाई।
Towards Titan 8. Indeed, you want the third party as well. Now engaged in this, and nade goes long. Right, a flush and another knock onto 97 for Wings. One more Molotov now to try and burn this one away. Can Bamboo get his team back to his feet? A crawl away, a reposition now. XZY still available for a res, but with the Xavier pushing in, with IHC potentially just over the hill, this could get messy.
यार मैं आया जरा 2 मिनट में भी, अभी सिर्फ 2 मिनट में आया मैं। यहाँ पे बैठ के करेगा आपका लाइव। माया
In the coming future. Oh. Good point to the tally. I said it was position. Of course, losing all those players. They should have been able to do more against Titan on the roll-up there. They just were ill-prepared for a team to crash on into them. There were 3 of them surrounding it. All 4 of them were in the same vehicle. It's not what you want to see. Far from ideal on the hold. And Nongshim Red Force falter once again. The South Korean team. A surprise entry as a representative for the region, I feel. But they are denied here. Yudo Alliance in a fight of their own against the Xavier, and it goes just the way you expect on this one. Olio down and out. Yudo Alliance down to just 1 player remaining. Cluck is ahead of this one, trying to get more central now as the Xavier disengage from IHC and move further up north. The Xavier taking good shot. I apparently want nothing to do with it. Loops now on the build. Xavier. We're going to lay claim to this space. S2G get a bit of the circle, but not too many players remaining for them. Alpha 7 will be forced out of that build. But they can get into cover fairly shortly. There is a lot of tree line in this location. With Loops right next to them, Xavier could reasonably rack up eliminations pretty quickly, but Loops are trying to get out of it now. They'll have to pass more. Dozen staying as a backstop. Xavier are right behind them now. They're worried. They hear the vehicles. Cardozen passes that information back on over. Morpher just a little bit further away with Bobaho. The rest of the team up high as well, taking shots to Cardozen, who goes on the back. Loops on 2. Back up for Xavier. Maybe pick up the point, but there to cover. The teammates are just about it. Back on the headland though. Through for Xavier.
ये गन कैसे नहीं फिर रहा? तगड़े प्लेयर है यार।
fifth circle though. DXavier has to make a mad dash into the circle with the vehicle burning. Difficult times ahead. Clutch spotted by Lamborghini, but just has to send past.
भाई वन की बातची का कोई आ जाओ.
Doesn't have too much choice.
DXavier managed to get into a cheeky little dip there. Cluck stands up to try and
गेम भी खेलते हैं यार थोड़ी देर सब देख
rotation. Demo up on the high ground, but they divert Paragin and Chua in the same vehicle here. Slow down out in the open. You don't want to be doing that. Not with Demo right over the top. IHC will take those shots if they're given the opportunity, but the repositioning happening for IHC themselves, not going to play into their favor. Doc nades out Lamborghini. 4MV trying to slow this one down. The approach to the hillside going a little bit shaky now as Doc has more angles to go for.
Doc holding it down all on his lonesome is pretty grim. Levi's, luckily, now looks to finish. Has to hit this shot and does. A massive not coming through, but it is Nurse.
Back and forth, Icy looking to try and reposition away, try and get to safety. That nade looks good.
Yeah, मेरे पास अपना PC नहीं है.
Find more loops are down.
इसलिए कोई हो नहीं रहा.
As well, a stalwart.
वैसे यार ये सही है.
Very low, but they're still alive, and they have 5 eliminations now. The top 3 teams blank with 3, 5, and 4 eliminations respectively.
Cleon goes down for Morph. Senab attempts to pick up some more. We're already down to 9 teams, barely in the 6th phase yet. DXavier trying to hang on. Morph versus Stalwart. Players rather low here from the Stalwart side. There's a huge amount of teams all chiming in. A Molotov goes over the top. Will be more leaving the game with help for a B there. Action center.
यार अब आप लोग सोच रहे हो कि मैं मोबाइल पे फोन करा क्योंकि यार नेट इसके साथ है मेरे को पीसी नहीं है.
So much contest for the
इंशाल्लाह पीसी लेके भाई स्ट्रीम करें.
It centers onto it as well.
इंशाल्लाह
This
यार
hillside
पीसी लेंगे.
could be the winning position.
स्ट्रीम
Just
करेंगे
depends how
हैवी
many
वाली.
players you're able to get through it with.
ये मेरा
Stalwart have
स्पेशल
all their players
नहीं है.
there. The 7-2-2 split. 4MV low on that player. You can see there. DXavier, they've been playing with 2 for a stage. Over the top. And being another over. Move on. Just brutal for 4MV. Backed off.
He didn't get involved with the boys on Stalwart, but there's some nasty shots that keep being sent back his way, and I think Doc realizes they need to start focusing on that side as opposed to the beast. Seems to lay over the top of the mountain. Ray Z takes down another from DXavier.
Stalwart want to convert on the previous check-in dinner blank. There's 6 eliminations up already, and out for 7, being beaten to fight them could not be any more special. The back for the top of the tables, and the top of this hill as well. Nurzed and Icy in position, out for 7 looking to defend. And Nate from Boso could spell disaster, but he puts it away. They want the angles instead. Close range and a spray. Mafioso, that's found by top. Icy looks for the flush as well, and they'll find it. And Nate over in the backline, cannot make it happen. And Stalwart got the double digits on the eliminations. Take down Alpha 7 and take off the top spot.
10 eliminations. IHC coming in though very quickly.
They want a piece of this pie. They want the third party. They have got 4 players alive, but Alex is on the back line. Godless is forward. Demo wants to go even further. And the nade over the top for Godless to try and get an aid over to Stalwart. And top goes down. Always Doc. Every single time. Nobody's been eating their apples because they cannot keep him away. 7 eliminations for 4MV, and Action wants to slow down IHC. It's not going to work though. And the ball for Action. Nurzed and Icy now needing to keep it together, but Demo has the angle, has the spray, and the UMP finds what he's looking for. Stalwart down to 1 and a sliver of...
Icy just dropping the smokes, is all he can do, but Doc once again from the back lines. His single play. has done so much in this map to deny the chances from DX Xavier, Stalwart. Ridiculous, but it's still S2G kicking and screaming on the western side.
We're looking at the main challenges towards the top of the tables in this final circle being IHC and 4MV. Those are the two teams who could potentially have an impact towards the latter half of today after this match concludes. We'll see what more IHC can do, because right now they're uncharacteristically only on 3 eliminations, but they've got a lot of utility here and all 4 of their players alive in a very central shift. The circle just about to pop and will decide a lot of the momentum, because Doc has been stitched.
Usually in those final moments, that's when they start to decide that those placement points do be looking good.
Mighty tasty, mighty fine. S2G, they've been fighting valiantly. Got only 3 elims this match. Suppressing IHC's position, but with the circle cutting IHC in, they're not going to have to move, and S2G is.
Mongolia at the moment seems to be a region all in its own. The amount of firepower that's come out from this side is absolutely astonishing. 4MV, IHC in the circle. FaZe as well as S2G attempting to move on in.
Blank.
I know.
Call a winner to start.
मैं देख रहा था मैं को यार आगे से इस टाइम तो मैंने कहा चलो विल उसके सारे थोड़ा आ गया इसको कैसे करें
It's not going to go well. They will fall in the face. 3 teams now remain with 4MV in the middle position. Prediction is getting a little bit better, but IHC now freed up by the lack of that STG off angle on the west. They have a chance to move over this hillside in a way they couldn't before.
And I think that the other thing you got to consider is the fact that IHC is not only picking up Stalwart's Death Crate, they're also picking up Alpha 7, so they have a huge amount of utility to work with. A lot of heals. Look at this, Daniel's even running with a level 3 helmet, level 3 vest. He is stocked up. Just back from the supermarket.
FaZe though, I mean, you talked about this team, Blank, as looking like they might have a little bit of a resurgence. Maybe here's where they can find a team from Thailand. That's out right behind us. They've been given a last minute Andy.
Yeah, they certainly pop off towards the end. I think the nice is that don't really seem to be all that important to them. And they do a real trend and now the top 5 position on the card. Though very much hinted between FaZe and IHC. And IHC taking their time about this. Groza now picks up most players, level 3 vest, level 3 helmet. They are looking stacked. Ever stacked against 4MV and FaZe at this
Dry as anything. They need value for it. I mean, we saw what value a nade can have in the previous Erangel match, where Stalwart were able to launch those nades, 3 high values on that engagement. Apex looks for a shutdown onto the low ground for Ventores. Could change things. One of those nades expended now. A nade over to the back line. It looks like it nearly was going to take down Mormon there, but he dodges, but not fully. That one's good. That's the second nade. I think that's the coffers run dry unless they've got a crate that they were sat on to pull it back. Apex looking for the hold, but the flush came through, and FaZe only playing now.
Hello guys, welcome back to another video. GTA 5 gameplay.
Start to move
आपका
in.
बढ़िया
Driving
देना
over the
है
top.
इस वाले पे baby calm down.
Legendary player
Calm
finally
down.
taken down. Raid boss out of the way. Jolt
मस्त
looks
हो
over
गया
towards with the
मस्त हो
4MV players. That's all
सिंगल
of
भी इस
them
टाइम
out.
सही आ रहे PUBG थोड़ी देर बाद खेलेंगे
IHC start to step
सिंगल
up
अभी सही
towards
सही आ
the
रहे
top of this
हैं
hill.
असल में ये फेस कैम मैं जरा हटाऊंगा फिर खेलेंगे क्योंकि ये फेस कैम मेरी शक्ल तो नजर नहीं आनी थोड़ा हटा फिर से क्या आ रहे थे
They've taken a knock onto Demo. 3 players standing. They are going to go for this res with Godless, but the nade stops it.
मैं
The
यार
flash
आया
is
मेरा
there. A little bit of
बंदे बुला
damage.
के आया मैं अपने भाई को भी लेके आया कोई पबजी का बड़ा फन ये ना भाई पे पीछे से जाओ पीछे हरकत हो जाए और क्या ना
Look at the heels of IHC here. It's going to stop them from rolling straight on forwards. And they move in with Mormon. A nade in the back pocket. Alex into the back of the buggy. Hops out high, and there's a nade. The vehicle goes up in smoke, and it's a 2 versus 2. At the back lines, it's a little bit low, but the first aid pops. On Sentence with the nade. Right to his face. Now the last man standing for FaZe, and Godless wants to shut this one down here and now. It is IHC making their bid for the top of the tables. Stalwart claim it from Alpha 7. And now another contender steps back up from Mongolia.
IHC decides that, in fact, you know what? Eliminations, that's a no from me. Placement points is where it's at. And they make it look easy as pie towards the end of it. It's just they weren't focusing on those chicken dinners before, but now they sense just how tasty they can be.
FaZe getting late into that match as well. A little bit of a too late resurgence in my mind, but still a high performance. But we've got to talk about Doc on that hilltop. Man, that guy was the arbiter of that area around that hill. Nobody moved without his say-so, right up until those final moments. And in the end, IHC swept across it.
Slinging that scalpel as well. 9 eliminations, I believe he finished with. It was a crazy game from Doc and 4MV. And he was all on his lonesome the majority of the time. I think at any point his team might have been able to regroup with him. Yeah, very well done to IHC there. Could have been a massive game for Stalwart though. Could have been. And that would have put them leagues ahead of DXavier and Alpha 7 at the end there.
I'll be really interested to see how this has changed the tables. Because you had 2 strong entries trying to push up 4MV and IHC to try and gather towards the tops there with Alpha 7 not having the brightest of games. I mean, they had a little bit, but weren't really able to do too much there. Like you said, Stalwart as well.
I think the major thing is the fact that Alpha 7 don't have the best game there, right? Where they were given the circle at start, they had a lot of opportunities to get in, they played versus Stalwart in that position, and Stalwart just kind of stomped on them. And it's what 7 says all the time. I'm going to keep referring back to it, is the fact that if they do not have a good start to the day, it massively knocks their confidence, especially on a day 3 in a tournament. Absolutely. It really does ruin them. And I think the third game was where they had to bring it back a little bit. Even the circle threw them a bone. And I do think it might be a little bit downhill from here for Alpha 7. Likely not knocked out from the top 3, but that trophy.
It's looking mighty tempting for a lot of these teams, and a lot of them put in a shift on that last match. The overall standings are going to look pretty crazy, I'm sure.
I'm not going to lie, I thought I was hearing more S2G rants here in the stage, but it was IHC and Mongolia being spanned by the audience. And IHC, and not only them, but Mongolia in general here on this the second air gun of the day, have been putting on a clinic. IHC have finally broken the curse here, Maxman. They've gotten their chicken dinner finally under their belts, and they put themselves now in contention for that trophy.
Yeah, one of the best rotations we've seen from this team by far, this entire Grand Finals. Going for the Western Bridge on George Pole, and they know it's a very southern plane path 7. Let's just wire up onto the western side, enter that way, and then play the terrain to our advantage. Very, very smart execution from IHC, and it goes to show. They have 4 players alive, they reached the late game, they have the fragging power to wrap up these matches and get these big chicken dinners, so IHC, this is one of the most important games possibly of their career.
It is, but I have to go to Star Wars because boy, oh boy, we're talking about the circle. Yeah, I might get on the hype train, okay? I might get on the hype train. But we were talking about that circle, we were saying how awful it was. But this is usually when we end up seeing who the champion caliber teams are, especially those teams that are currently fighting for it. Star Wars Esports being able to put up 10 eliminations and being able to do it in edge of the circle, not being able to sit up, having to push on fights. We saw them being able to push on Alpha 7. We saw them being able to eliminate them very quickly without losing any players, and that was quite impressive. Sadly for them, IHC decided to time that out so perfect alongside with 4MV.
Mongolia, Mongolia, Mongolia. That's the name of the game pretty much for this match in general. IHC, 4MV and Stalwart have been looking so good, putting on an absolute clinic here on this Erangel. And at the bottom, you've seen the teams a little bit lower. Alpha 7 still are getting 3 eliminations is like the trend for
but
today.
The problem is, they get 4 points, DXavier gets 6. So DXavier keep them within reach and actually close that distance. IHC getting a lot of points, potentially taking themselves to first. Stalwart already passed Alpha 7 in the last match, and they're building that lead even further. And right now, 7, ever since you put on that Alpha 7 jacket, they have been playing not great.
That might be the curse. I'm gonna not wear it during the matches. But with Alpha 7, I feel like they're playing a little bit too patient. One of the big questions that we had here was with the quick rotation, probably Povka to Sarki, is were they gonna have enough loot?
Let's draw it back, right? Because that whole rotation was set in stone based off of DXavier.
Pretty much. Like when you're looking at the playing path, of course, you know that Alpha 7 are not going to go for their typical Northern George Bowl drop. They're going to go to Lipovka. And DXavier was so quick on the pivot 7. We were looking like, wow, that is so quick. They didn't even take time to loot. They want to go for Northern George, and it forced Alpha 7 to have to loot up in Zaki to some extent, which means they were underlooted to some extent, not quite able to really take the fight as dominantly as they would have liked to. It really feels like DXavier and a lot of the other teams now have put their focus on Alpha 7.
Yeah, if that was another team, if that was another team's drop location, I don't think they would have went for that rotate to cut them off.
Yeah, not worth it. But here, super worth it.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, we saw them not being able to have the amount of loot that we expect them to, especially with that rotation all the way up to Sarki, not being able to loot at all. Because when they were trying to fight against Stalwart Esports, they didn't really have any utility. If they would have used a little bit more utility, it would have been a completely different fight right there. But overall, Alpha 7 currently, for the last 3 matches, are not playing like the Alpha 7 that we have seen in the past 2 days.
Actually, I want to hit you for a second. Talking about Alpha 7, how took their fight onto Stalwart, didn't quite have the resources to take that fight. Such a quick response from IHC. They see that fight happening, instantly send it onto the fight, try to clear Stalwart. There's some kind of assistance happening also from the angle of 4MV. By the way, Doc, what a game from this guy. Just held against DXavier the entire red side, pretty much the entirety of that game. But IHC are on point and playing some of the best PUBG Mobile they have so far.
I mean, Doc was a stand-up player as well when it came to the group stages. As we can see here, able to get 1,000 damage in this last match, almost 1,100. And that deserves another Maxman sound effect.
Yep, yow, wow.
Okay, you reuse that one.
Yeah.
You go back and in your R&D and fix that one.
Speed box.
Wow. There you go.
That was a very quick R&D session there. I will approve. And so does John and Blank. So I hope the cars does out there as well. But here we go. Here's our overall rankings. And it's a 6-point lead for Stalwart at the moment. But IHC has been able to tie things up with Alpha 7. DXavier only 3 points behind that. And for America Vibes, still technically in reach. Even, I think that cutoff we were talking about, right? You said about like 6th place was the cutoff.
Yep.
I still think it's 6th place. I still think Weibo Gaming has a chance to come back, but they need to have some big games.
A win, right, 7. We need to see a win from WBG.
Not just from WBG, also from 4MB. I feel like we need to see a win. Going into Miramar, you never really know what's going to happen, especially with the terrains that we have. We are more likely to see bad circles just like this last one in Erangel, and we're more likely to end up just relying not on just your rotations, just your gun skill. Are you going to be able to have it? And you don't want to be able to just rely on that. They need to be able to get a win and kind of set themselves up there for Miramar coming out.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
I can try. But I won't. But then I'd be an analyst and not a host anymore. And then we have to hear 7 hosts, and that just makes things more interesting. We are heading into our final Erangel. So for me, as we have been talking about, DXavier, IHC, their best performing map, hands down. I'm a little bit worried going into Miramar. So in my head, I'm thinking these 2 teams in particular, if they want to have a chance to maintain a lead or kind of hold on to a lead, they need to end well on this final Erangel. And then obviously getting into Miramar, kind of perform as well. And speaking of performing, you guys at home can perform and get yourself a chunk of 154,000 UC. And you can see there's going to be a little bit more info than just what you see on the bottom of your screen, given later on. There's going to be the top 500 players have a chance to win a chunk of that 154K. 6,000 UC, potentially won. We're not eligible.
Aw, man. We were already thinking of ways to try to win some.
You can use your day rate to pay for some UC. How about that?
You can afford 5 UC.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
What?
Oh, wait a minute.
So we're here for exposure.
That's true. I mean, we got Pairboy in the green room with us.
True.
And some of us have yet to take a picture with him because, you know, we like to give the man some space. I'm not going to say who took the picture. You can guess. Probably based off his face. But obviously, right, let's kind of focus up here because this is where Alpha 7 have to prove that they their mental state. 3 matches in a row. We've been really praising them and how they've been able to maintain their mental this entire time. But this is the true test of a champion, a CCT, an ALT. I had to really think that one through first.
Like, Avenger level.
Can you bounce back now when the odds are starting to be stacked against you, when you had that lead throughout these 2 days, and when these other teams are starting to really step up when they need to?
It's not even just teams stepping up, right? Is that they're clearly responding in such a way they want to ruin your opportunity for such a game. We talked about Xavier, talked about IHC going for that rotation in Northern Georgia. Now, it's not just you being able to play your game, it's you being able to play your game while teams are clearly trying to ruin it for you, are trying to mess with your entire game plan, right? So this is an issue they have to take care of, and they have to double think, triple, like, prove that their rotation is going to be the right approach for these circles. So I would get in my own head if I were them, because you're never sure if the play is going to be available, because teams might try and predict your game plan and just mess with you as much as possible.
Especially with the way they've been kind of setting themselves up throughout the last couple of matches too. They've been able to get some eliminations, but they're not being able to hit the mark in regards to placement points. And going into Miramar, I know we still have one more Erangel. This team needs to be able to perform in this Erangel, because going into Miramar, they have been a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. Yes, yesterday they were able to improve on the things that kind of hindered them in day one, but then the mental starts at play, as you guys have been hinting at. It's going to start messing with them, and I feel like we need to have a good performance out of them here. 4 points is not going to cut it. I think if they do end up with 4 points again going into Miramar, I don't see Alpha 7, as much as it hurts saying this, I don't see Alpha 7 becoming a champion with the way that Star Wars Esports is currently playing, and with the way that I know that Xavier can actually play.
All right, well, gentlemen, it is time to head into our final Erangel of the day. Will we have a new #1 team at the end of this? There's only one way to find out. Let's throw it on over to our casters.
With a 6-point buffer at the top of the tables, there are, as Jason put it, those 6 teams that cut off region at the top of the tables that are all going to be competing. Going into 3 more maps, that is utter insanity.
It's absolutely crazy at the moment, and I genuinely think that when you look at these games so far, it has been absolutely unbelievable the way that Stalwart's been playing, the way that IHC has really changed up the game at the end of the day. It is fantastic, and I mean, I only want to see this continue going forward. I'm really, really pleased the way that things have panned so far, and I genuinely think that Erangel, this match 4, is going to be amazing.
We've had 2 Mongolian chicken dinners so far in a row. Stalwart, the first of the Erangels, IHC with the second of them. But maybe looking at a third. Is it the time for Max to get that prediction right finally? On that 4 MV chicken dinner that he predicted last time around. He's going to go 2 for 2. We'll see. But no, we'll have to wait for that one. Just a moment, Blank. Hold your horses. I know, you're antsy to get into it. So are we.
I absolutely am. I just want to get into the game now. All I want to do is I want to watch some Erangel. I want to see some on our screens. And I think that there could be some big switches. Going to be some twists and turns towards the end here. Obviously being not from I think them, because they, although they've been second place once,
This region.
now it's already out. Just aren't able to put up a fight here in their home country.
I mean, day 1,
Day 1 was a blaster.
it looked completely different, right? And compared to them, it was a surprise as well coming into this tournament. They have not been on form this season, and it feels like these last 2 days have kind of been a testament to that instead of that day 1 surprise performance. It is unfortunate, but gotta have a winner. It's not gonna be a back-to-back. Very rarely, in fact, is it?
One time there was.
Yeah, there was that one time that Nova did.
Just the one time.
And our Paraboy's over on the desk, he's not even playing.
Yeah, he's gone.
I will not call him washed up because that would get so much hate.
Not washed up.
I'm sure we'll see him again next season.
Player, that's
He is,
the story.
absolutely.
No, you don't make it PMGC, you still make it PM Rumble. For but honestly, well, incredible.
At that point. I mean, nobody fights quite like saw it from them.
लगाइए। PUBG लगा ले। यार किधर चले गए सारे, आए नहीं अभी तक। ओ भाई साहब, यार किधर चले गए सारे, आए नहीं अभी तक। पीछे लेना पड़ेगा यार। भाई साहब, यार किधर चले गए सारे, आए नहीं अभी तक। लगाओ जी। खराब भी होता है यार ये, इसलिए मैं गेम नहीं खेल रहा था। आप थोड़ी बारी गेम सही आई है यार। मानता हूँ मैं फेस नहीं आ रहा यार, अगली बारी मैं लाइव स्ट्रीम करनी है तो यार किसी और डिवाइस से करूँगा, पीछे से करूँगा। पीछे आएगा ना और लाइव आया करेगा। यार खेच कंटेनर होगा और नहीं मरेगा यार इतने, समझो यार मेरी। ये डीबीएस मिलेगा ना, बहन चोद के रखा।